Hello and welcome to another episode here on Outside Views EU. Today we're diving into a topic that has many people on edge, both in the UK and across Europe. It's about the stalled attempts to repair the damage from Brexit. Prime Minister Keir Starmer made his first official visit to Brussels this month, but he didn't bring the solutions many had hoped for. Instead, he came empty-handed. And this visit was meant to signal a new phase in the UK-EU relations, one of the rapprochement and of mending ties. But as things stand, it seems more about repeating old patterns rather than paving a new forward-looking path. Starmer has been quite clear in stating what will not happen. No return to the EU single market, no rejoining the customs union, and certainly no relaxation of freedom of movement, even for young Europeans who want to come to the UK to study, work and experience life. These are hard red lines drawn to satisfy domestic political pressures, but they are also the very obstacles that prevent meaningful progress. The idea of repairing relations with the EU is clashing head-on with the reality of these self-imposed restrictions. It will get worse before it gets better. That's the bleak message Starmer has delivered to its fellow Britons. And it seems this sentiment applies not just to domestic issues, but also to the UK's relationship with Europe. The British government, under Labour's leadership, has so far focused on what won't be done. As I said, there won't be a return to the single market. There won't be any participation in the customs union. And there won't be any easing of movement for young Europeans who simply want the opportunity to live, work or study in the UK. And these red lines leave little to no room for meaningful improvements to the most significant issues left behind by Brexit. Take youth mobility as an example. The EU has proposed easing visa requirements for young Europeans and Britons alike so they can work and study across Europe for up to 4 years. This would be a significant step forward, a gesture of goodwill and practical cooperation. But so far, there has been no movement on the UK side. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has even suggested that the UK rejoin the Erasmus student exchange program. For many British universities, this would be a lifeline. They have suffered financially due to the significant drop in EU students since Brexit. And these universities, once thriving on diversity and international exchange, are now feeling the effects of being cut off from the EU academic community. And really, why should the younger generation suffer for the decisions made by predominantly older Brexit supporters? This is a question that remains unanswered, and it speaks volumes about the current political climate in the UK. Starmer, despite his absolute majority in Parliament, seems unwilling to risk political capital on this issue. Youth mobility has been caught up in the political charge debate over immigration, a debate that has become so heated that even practical and mutually beneficial proposals are dead on arrival. And the frustration doesn't end there. The same goes for economic relations between the UK and the EU. Starmer's proposed veterinary agreement might ease trade in agricultural products, but this is just a drop in the ocean compared to the challenges at hand. The real issues lie in the trade of industrial goods and services. Brexit has created significant barriers that cannot be fixed by small tweaks like a veterinary deal. At best, there could be some agreements on aligning safety standards, such as those for chemical products. But these measures are far from enough to repair the overall damage. And then there's the looming prospect of new disputes. Fishing rights and energy trade, two sensitive areas that need to be renegotiated by mid-2026. Both sides are already preparing for tough negotiations, staking out their positions in anticipation of the coming talks. And that's a situation that could easily escalate if mishandled, leading to yet another prolonged and exhausting disagreement. Starmer faces a difficult balancing act. He has to manage the practical need for closer ties with the EU while also addressing domestic political realities. He needs to prove that his government is different from the Brexit-obsessed conservative predecessors, but so far there are few signs of a real shift in direction. Instead of building bridges, Starmer seems to be reiterating the red lines set by previous governments. It's a cautious approach, possibly intended to avoid upsetting voters who still view the EU with suspicion. But it also means that the UK risks missing a real opportunity to reset relations with Europe. The frustration in Brussels is becoming increasingly evident. There's a palpable sense of déjà vu, another British leader arriving without significant concessions, yet still expecting progress. The EU has made some overtures, showing that they are willing to work on practical arrangements to improve the current situation. However, without meaningful engagement from the UK side, these gestures can only go so far. The economic impact of Brexit on the UK has been severe. Businesses have been grappling with red tape, increased costs, and the complexities of navigating new trade barriers. And the proposed veterinary agreement would only address a very specific part of this problem, agricultural trade. But the majority of issues lie within industrial trade and services, as I said, where Brexit has created new cumbersome processes that businesses have to deal with every day. Many hoped that with Starmer's government, there would be a shift towards more pragmatic relations with the EU. Yet, what we are seeing is a reiteration of limits rather than a genuine attempt to explore new opportunities. Youth mobility remains restricted, businesses still face barriers, and the overall message seems to be one of hesitation and caution. And I talked about the fisheries and energies, and there will even be more impacts next year when the euro clearing transitional period runs out. So for many in the UK and the EU, the promise of repairing Brexit seems increasingly hollow. If Starmer truly wants to be different from his predecessors, he needs to show more courage. He needs to be willing to challenge those red lines, to make the case to the British public that closer ties with Europe are not only necessary but also in the national interest. And this means being open to discussions about freedom of movement, about rejoining programs like Erasmus, and about finding practical solutions that benefit both sides. Otherwise, all we are left with are empty visits and empty promises. The damage from Brexit is real, and the longer these issues are left unaddressed, the harder it will be to fix at least some of them. The UK is at a crossroads. It can continue down the path of isolation, maintaining the barriers and the limits set by the Brexit vote. Or it can take a bold step towards reconciliation and cooperation. This would require challenging the narratives that have dominated British politics for years, but it's the only way to truly repair some damage. For now, it seems we're still waiting for that moment of bold leadership. Starmer has the political capital. He has an absolute majority. But political capital means little if it isn't used to make meaningful changes. The British people deserve more than empty rhetoric. They deserve real solutions that will improve their lives, open up opportunities for the young, and rebuild the bridges that have been burned. And once again, thank you for watching. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think Starmer can rise to the challenge and deliver a new relationship with Europe? Or are we destined to see just more of the same? Leave your comments below and let's start a conversation here. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. See you next time, and the next video is right here in the end screen.